In this video, we're going to talk about how to factor the difference of two squares. Now, for any real numbers a and b, a squared minus b squared is factored as, where you're going to have two parentheses, and one binomial is going to be a plus b, and the other one is going to be a minus b. So some things for you to look for. This first term is going to be a square. This next term is also going to be a square. And it's called the difference of two squares because you are going to have subtraction here. Now, because you're going to be looking for squares, it's important that you can recognize squares. So if it's been a while since you've talked about perfect squares, let's make a little chart that will help us. Okay, so put this in your notes. And over here, we're going to just take the first 12 whole numbers. Okay, so 1 to 12. And let's call those numbers x. And then down here, we're going to put their squares. So what does that mean? Well, 1 times 1, 1 squared is 1. 2 times 2, 2 squared is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 squared is 9. So you get the idea. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared is 36. 7 squared, 7 times 7 is 49. 8 squared is 64. 9 squared is 81. 10 squared is 100. 11 squared is 121. And 12 squared is 144. So we've got the first 12 perfect squares here for us to look at in the integers. So want to keep those in mind because you're going to be finding those in your binomials. We're going to have to factor them. Okay, so here we go. Factor each difference of two squares. So our first one says x squared minus 16. So it's a binomial. There's two terms. We've got the subtraction, so we know it's a difference, but is it the difference of two squares? Well, if you said yes, you're right, because here our first term is x squared, and our second term is 16, but 16, as we know from our table up above, 16 is 4 squared. This first term is x squared, and then from your table above you can see that 16 is a perfect square. It's 4 squared. Right? So we have x squared minus 4 squared. And so to factor it, we draw two parentheses for our binomials, and this binomial will be x plus 4, and this one will be x minus 4. Okay, let's try another one. This one says 25x squared minus 4. Again, it's a binomial. There are two terms. It's a difference because you have the subtraction. 4 we know is 2 squared. And 25 is 5 squared. And we know that x squared is a perfect square. So this is 5x squared minus 2 squared. So your two parentheses, and here you're going to write 5x plus 2 and 5x minus 2. Okay, next we have 64 minus t squared. Binomial, two terms. You have subtraction, it's a difference. 64 from our table, the table you have written above, right? 64 is 8 squared. Okay, so this is 8 squared minus, and then here we have t squared. So we're going to factor that as 8 plus t, 8 minus t. And notice I keep the order. 8 came first, 8 squared came first, so the 8 comes first here. Otherwise, this binomial with the subtraction will be wrong if you switch the order. So the variables don't always have to come first. Okay, follow the problem, the order in the problem. Okay, we have 81 minus 25a squared. 81 from your table is 9 squared minus, it's a subtraction, it's a difference. 25a squared is 5a squared. So we're going to factor that. 9 plus 5a, 9 minus 5a. Okay, by the way, we haven't checked any of our answers, so why don't we check one of these? If you're in a test, it's always a good idea to check your answers before you submit your test. So checking it is checking by foiling, right? And so we're going to multiply the first, 9 times 9, which is 81. The outer, 9 times a negative 5a is a negative 45a. The inners is a positive 5a times 9, which is a positive 45a. And then the lasts, which is a positive 5a times a negative 5a, which is a negative 25a squared. And notice that these two middle terms cancel. And we end up with our binomial, 81 minus 25a squared, which is what we started with. So again, you can always check these answers. Okay, next we have 16a squared minus 49b squared. 16, as you remember, is 4 squared. So this first term is 4a squared minus, and then 49 is 7 squared. So 49b squared is 7b squared. So we're going to factor 4a plus 7b and 4a minus 7b. Okay, and then last one, 9x squared minus 100y squared. So 9 is a perfect square. So 9x squared is 3x squared minus, and then 100y squared, which is 10y squared. So we factor that as 3x plus 10y, 3x minus 10y. And one more thing, when I rewrite this binomial with the parentheses and the squared, that is not factoring right there. All I'm doing right there is just recognizing that this binomial follows our a squared minus b squared form. And then I'm kind of telling you what a and b are, so that then you can factor it as a plus b, a minus b. And see how we substitute it, 3x for a and 10y for our b. So sometimes I have seen in students' papers that they do this first step here and then they stop and think that they factored the binomial, but this right here on the right hand side, that's your factoring. Okay, hope that helps.